It's something you may not have thought about before, but something I think about all the time. It's a profound question. Has YouTube ruined the car scene? It's a good Talk About It Tuesday subject. I'm Mike, and you're watching My Car Shop. I know of very few YouTube channels that present a real world view of doing the kind of work that we do here at My Car Shop. I'm not going to pick on some of the big channels, but I watch them occasionally, not very much anymore, but I used to watch them a lot. And there's so much stuff that gets left out. There's so many things that give you an unrealistic view of things. I mean, can you buy a $500 car 800 miles away from home, work on it for an afternoon, and drive it all the way home? Yeah, I suppose you could, but I don't think that's absolutely a very good real world view of the hobby. And, it's interesting, makes for good video, but I don't know. I see a lot of unnecessary drama, and I see a lot of things that are overlooked that should be talked about. Back in the 90s, I used to watch a lot of the shows that were on the Nashville network, like Hot Rod TV and Shade Tree Mechanic and shows like that. And even those cars didn't present a real view of a lot of things. They glossed over a lot of subjects. Overhauling is another one. Um, Unrealistic expectations and an unrealistic view of this hobby that I consider to be so precious and so fun. Now, I know for anybody that has actually built cars, you can watch those shows and go, yeah, whatever. It's like watching movies when they hit the nitrous button in whatever car, and it's so fast that it actually makes the world spin under the car. It just, all that stuff. Totally unrealistic. Anybody that's a car guy or car gal knows that. But I think that's a little more blatant, and I think there's a lot that can be overlooked, that not so much for the veteran, but for the person who's interested, when they don't get that real world view of what things are going to be like, it can set them up for frustration, and it ultimately can set them up for failure. It's a struggle because I don't want to compromise the integrity of sharing realistically what it takes to actually restore a car, especially when you don't have any money. And that's what we share here, versus a lot of the shows that pull in a rusted hulk of metal into the shop, and 45 minutes later, you're driving out with a show-winning Riddler Award car. That is so unrealistic. And just so unrealistic. Another case in point, the amount of money that people spend to do their builds, which is fine. No judgment if you have the money, but it sends the wrong message. I mean, we have huge money into these two cars. If you've been around the channel, we have $6 into this truck so far. $6 is all we got into this 39 Dodge pickup. And that's for one rattle can of primer. We've got less than $3,000 into this 70 Challenger that includes the purchase price, the motor, the transmission, which is a 4-speed, clutch pedal assemblies, rear end, front disc brakes, yada, 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 fill in the blank. Show me somebody else that's only got $3,000 into a 70 Challenger that could be put together in driving, because we have everything we need to be able to do that. And I think, okay, maybe you don't want to build it that way, and maybe you don't necessarily have the resources to be able to pool those things together and be creative and barter for things and trade for things and so forth. But that's what we try to present here, is to say, hey, this hobby is doable for anybody if you're willing to think outside the box. Or if you, like me, you say, what, there's a box? I can't tell you how many people I personally know in the real world, not just online, who say, oh, I would love to do what you do, but I could never afford it. Now, okay, yes, I've been doing this for 45 years probably, and I've accumulated a lot of stuff over the years. But if you've been around the channel for any length of time, I'm always looking for that super steal and that super deal that falls in my lap that I wasn't expecting. We got a new piece of equipment that came from an auction that I got just recently. You'll be seeing on the channel. I don't think it's aired yet. You'll be surprised what you can get for pennies on the dollar. Yeah, you got to put in the time, you got to do the work, you got to do your due diligence. But the point is, it can be done if you're willing to put in the energy. You don't have to spend huge money. And that's where I see YouTube is really setting people up for frustration and many times setting people up to walk away from the hobby. I come from the world, and this is a true story. Guy I know had a 11-second Nova that he ran every weekend at the racetrack, and he won races. And I was with him at his house one day helping him put a motor together, and he was literally picking parts up out of the dirt, blowing them off and wiping them off and putting them in the motor because that particular whatever it was failed. Okay, maybe not ideal, maybe not what we want to be conveying here, but the point is, old school hot rodding didn't look for the best of the best in clean room conditions. We worked in dirt floor garages and we still built fast cars. Yeah, we probably had to build them more often because we were using junkyard parts and picking them up off dirt floors and blowing the dust off stuff hanging on a nail on the wall. But nobody that I know of is presenting that kind of thing anymore. And for me, it's a foundation of you don't have to do the unobtainium stuff. Now, let me hit on a couple of other things that I think are hot topics that really are hot thoughts that really contribute to this from some perspective on other channels on YouTube that I've seen. Some of the big channels started out with absolutely nothing, and they were doing some of that stuff early on, and then they got bigger and corporate America got interested in them for advertising, and they started providing parts and sponsorships and stuff like that. And the channels just grow, and pretty soon they're getting semi-loads of parts and things they need for their build, and they're spending huge money themselves because they're making huge money. And I feel like they lost sight of what made them popular in the first place. And I struggle with the same mentality. Many times I have friends around me that I have told, if you see me going down that path, get your steel-toed boots on and give me the biggest boot in the rear that you can to get my head out of there and back to what's DIY that can be done on a shoestring, which is the core of this channel. Is YouTube ruining the car culture? It could. I'm concerned about the younger generation and the message that is being sent to the young guys who, they didn't grow up with stuff like I did, like this. They grew up with, 90s Honda Civics and 2000s Mitsubishi Eclipses and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with those cars, but build a motor for a Mitsubishi Eclipse and you could build one heck of a muscle car for the same price, just what it would cost to build the motor on a Mitsubishi. And I'm afraid that sends the wrong message because they go, oh, it's going to cost me $20,000 to build the motor that I want for my Mitsubishi. And they won't even think about the fact that they could pick up a 76 Volare and build a really awesome 360 small block and do the whole car inside and out and have something that sounds great, looks great, is fun to drive. And now they've got something that has some value that they could flip to maybe get into an E-body or a B-body or even a fat fender. Whether it's in my tech business or here at my car shop or in every area of life, I've done this my entire life. I've always taken the time to try to teach younger people. Even when I was an engineer in the auto industry, I used to participate in some SAE programs where we would go to grade schools and do science experiments and talk about principles of physics and things like that. I think it's so important to inspire and share our knowledge and inspire the next generation to become enthusiastic. Let's face it, it's an obsession for me. It's an obsession for a lot of you. For some of you, it's a fascination, but there's so much we can share with the future generation. I don't want to see YouTube become this thing that destroys car culture because we're all too focused on how we can make our channels grow, and we're just trying to present the next sexy video so we can get the clicks, so that we can grow our channel and get the next viral video and become the next huge YouTube star or whatever it is we're trying to accomplish. I think it's important to pass the torch on. Now, I've done other videos on this subject before, but this one really hit me today as I was thinking about it. People will say, well, I don't have the space and I can't afford rent, much less to work on a car. And I can't. And if you say you can't, you won't. I've never let that get in my way, even in times when I didn't have a garage. I lived in an apartment, or I had a garage about the size of a shoebox. I begged, borrowed space. I always found a way to make it happen. If I wasn't able to work on a car, I always found a way to keep that passion going by reading magazines or perusing parts catalogs or reading old school books on how to build real hot rods, all that kind of stuff. So let's be passing that passion on. You don't have to do things on the DIY cheap like I do here. That you can do it on the high end if you can afford it. But let's present the full spectrum of, hey, if you don't have any money, there's still ways you can have a whole bunch of cars and do a whole bunch of stuff. That's what My Car Shop is about. And if you do have a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of space, here's other ways you can do things. Present the full spectrum of everything and let people find the way that works for them. Yes, I am passionate about this subject. Absolutely. I can't wait for the day that the channel grows a little more. I sound like I'm contradicting myself, but bear with me. The channel grows a little bit more, and I can actually get some interns in here from our local tech center and pass on some of the skill sets that I have that they're not going to get anywhere else. All right, that will do it. Now, down there in the description is my email address. If you want to send me stuff, by all means, shoot me an email. I'll give you the information you need to send me stuff. I received a package today from a channel viewer that we're going to be unboxing on the channel real soon. I love it when you guys send me stuff. We have merchandise. There's a link to Schultz Sign Company down in the video description. Click the link to that. Go to Etsy. Go to the Schultz Sign Company store. And within the Etsy search, not the Etsy search itself, but within the Schultz Sign Company search, just look for MKS and you'll find all of our merchandise. Also, we have channel memberships for as little as $5 a month. You can join the channel. You get perks. You get incentives. You get behind the scenes looks at stuff that nobody else will see. Plus, on select videos, you get to see it at the time I upload it instead of 6 to 8 weeks out like my normal production schedule is. So there's a lot of good stuff over there. If you want to see stuff ahead of time or see stuff that nobody else sees, that's the place to be. All right, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. One more thing that's super important we don't want to forget. This one's life-changing. Don't forget. Raw!